you were almost expelled for exposing a professor's anti-white course.
Yeah, that's true.
Anti-white course? To get him expelled? How do people come up with this stuff? Oh my goodness.
It's no secret that college campuses across the West are echo chambers of leftist ideology, often extreme left ideology that is intolerant of other views. They boast about diversity, equity and inclusion, but they are openly hostile to those who hold mainstream conservative values. But one student at an elite American university has fought back against the anti-white hatred and groupthink he has witnessed firsthand on campus, and he has been surprisingly successful. That student is Daniel Schmidt from the University of Chicago, and he joins me now. Daniel, is it true you were almost expelled for exposing a professor's anti-white course?
Yeah, that's true. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I really
Anti-white course? How do people come up with this stuff?
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. Let me sort of paint the picture. So I get to this elite university, the University of Chicago, and I see this class, and it's called The Problem of Whiteness. And, you know, I don't know if you're like me, but when I first heard that class, I was like, what the heck is that suggesting? That there's a problem with white people or whiteness, and there's a solution? I mean, you know, what's going on here? This is insane. This is clearly racist. It's clearly anti-white. So I saw this class and I called it out on my Twitter. I said it's the most egregious example of anti-white hatred I've ever seen. And shortly afterward, the professor who was teaching this class, she filed 2 separate complaints to get me expelled. She said I led a harassment.
To get him expelled? Oh my goodness.
Against her, that I was inciting violence. And yeah, she filed 2 separate complaints. Now, fortunately, my school refused to expel me. But then she went to the New York Times. The New York Times wrote this massive hit piece on me, calling me a cyberbully, saying I instigated this campaign. And then to top it off, CNN wrote an article calling me a bully. So yeah, that's sort of what you get in America. And I'm sure around the world, if you're a white student and you call this stuff out. So yeah.
Oh, well, thank God you've got the strength to put up with this, because I think that would scare off most people to have these media giants going after you. Prominent people go to water with that sort of attention. So for you to take a stand, I'm very impressed indeed. And this started early with you. Within weeks of you starting at this university, you learned that you weren't allowed to participate in a debate tournament because you're white. Tell me what you did about that.
You always know something is racist if you just replace the word white with black. If it was an anti-black class or a black hatred class, it would be no doubt in anyone's mind that would be racist. But to argue that people will say, you know what, society is white supremacy, so you can't be racist towards white people because they run society. But to argue that, I would say, okay, what if it was a male hatred class where they said men were evil? Are we in a patriarchy? Like, even if we are in a patriarchy, you can't have a class that says I hate men. Similarly, if you think we're in a white supremacy society, you still can't have a class that says you hate white people, or that teaches white people to hate themselves. Because any class teaching a group of people to hate themselves is wrong, bro. No matter how you flip it, it's wrong. Hey y'all, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, well, you know, it was absolutely insane because let me just paint a bit of a picture. You know, I come from a middle-class household in Tennessee, so a pretty rural area. I get to this university. Within weeks, I have these people running this debate tournament at my school tell me, yeah, this tournament's actually not open to white people. It's only open to non-white people.
What?
And, you know, I've heard this stuff happen at universities. I always thought it was a bit exaggerated. It was a bit, you know, to hype up media, but I experienced it in real time. And so I wrote an article about it. I had access to a newspaper at my school, and I straight up just exposed it. I tried my best. And then fortunately, a few national outlets picked it up. And then the year later, so this year, the debate did not happen. And I don't know for certain if it was because of what I did, but I have to imagine they got some attention, they got some traction. So what I'm really trying to emphasize on all these interviews I do, so here and on Twitter, is if you're a student at a university, you have a lot more power than you think. I know it seems daunting, like, oh, I'm against the mob and I'm one voice, but you really do have a lot more power because these people are fragile. The administration.
Bro, I did not know this stuff was happening, man. Like, every time I hear this, it's just a shock to me. Like, you would never even think that colleges have gotten this bad. Having anti-white debates, a white hatred class. Like, who even comes up with this stuff? What's the purpose of this? And like he said, he's from a rural middle-class town. He's a normal person. Very, very normal life. So you're getting these normal people, kids basically, and teaching them to hate themselves. That's not right. That's weird. If you did it to any other group of people, it would be wrong. But the fact that you're doing it to white people think that it's right. Don't forget, these people are still humans. They're humans. They're kids at that. He's what, 18, 19 as a freshman? Teaching an 18-year-old to hate themselves, basically. Who does that? Who thinks that's a good idea? And then the fact that he exposed it and you're trying to get him expelled.
Things are fragile. And if you call it out, if you bring attention to it, you will be actually surprised how much you can achieve. So if there are any students listening in, I would really encourage you to, if you ever see something that you just know inside is not right, seriously consider speaking up, because I think you would be surprised how much change you could actually cause.
Well, it's fantastic advice, but we do know kids at university and even faculty self-censor. How big a problem is that? How many kids come up to you, how many of your fellow students, and say, look, I back you, but I'm just not brave enough, or I'm too scared to say what I actually think?
Oh, it happens all the time. I mean, I think almost every single day, or maybe at least every single week, I get messages from students who sometimes I have no idea. They seem to be the least suspecting people, and they message me and they say, dude, I agree with you on everything. Thank you for doing that. And you know, listen, we're in a culture war. We are in a battle. We have to do sacrifices. And I think some people get the calling. Some people feel the need to speak up. Others feel the need to be quiet and maybe do more behind the scenes stuff. So, you know, I totally recognize that. But I think, you know, I do think there are people out there like me who feel within them they need to speak up. They have God's gift, or they have some calling. And if you have that calling, seriously, I would say speak up. But yeah, self-censorship is certainly a problem. I've even had professors tell me on like the last day of class, hey, by the way, I secretly love what you're doing. So it's certainly there. And if anything, that just shows more and more people are waking up to this agenda.
I just don't like the fact that there are, you know, classes out there or devices. I don't even know the right word. There's agendas out there for young people to not like themselves. That's my thing. I'm more so on the self-esteem aspect of it than anything. Because at the end of the day, he's borderline child, borderline kid. Like when you go to college, you're fresh out of high school, and then the fact that he called this out and then you try to expel him, I really can't get behind that. I'm not really going to focus on how society is run, because that's a little above my knowledge level. Like, I don't know the intricate levels of society. I do know that, you know, the average white family doesn't really make a crazy amount of money. They're just normal people like me. They drive to work every day. They come home every day. So when you have these classes of teaching their children to hate themselves, it's just, I don't see the good that can come out of that.
Yep, and it's not just race, gender, sexuality that these universities have become obsessed with, but also the COVID vaccination status of their students. You challenged your university's ban on unvaccinated students accessing dining halls. Tell me what happened there, because I understand you had more success.
Accessing dining halls? To reiterate, I don't know when this video came out. When it comes to something like that specifically, I don't really know what to think, because it depends. Like, if this came out during like the spike of everything happening, then I do actually see why a university would say that, because you got to remember when everything was happening in 2020, nobody knew nothing. Like, none of us really knew anything, and you were either polarized on, oh, I'm gonna get it, or oh, I'm not getting it. Like, nobody really knew anything. So if you have that level of fear as like a administration, and you just think like students are gonna really harm other students, I will see why you'd be like, okay, you can't come in the dining hall. However, if students are paying to go here, you can't just say your students can't eat. Like, you can't say that either. So I do understand. What I would probably do in that specific situation, I would probably open up separate dining halls, because remember, you don't really know what's happening when everything literally sprout out. You don't really know what's happening. So I would probably just open up separate dining halls, because I can't just be like, you can't eat as a student. Like, that's kind of strange, but hey, it's all different, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm unvaccinated. It was a personal decision of mine. I was fortunate to receive a religious exemption. It took a lot of effort. It took me about 5 weeks to secure it, but fortunately I secured a religious exemption because my school made every student get the vaccine. And within the first few months of the year, my school said all unvaccinated students have to be banned from the dining hall. They cannot eat physically in the dining halls. And I was like, wait a second, that's actually illegal, because I go to school in the city of Chicago, and the city of Chicago said if you have an exemption, you're allowed to eat in public facilities. So
yeah, it's a lot that goes into that, but I don't want to get too much into that topic because I don't really know much about it. If you do, the video is called Anti-White Hatred, U.S. Student Almost Expelled for Complaining About Racist Class. Yeah, I'm gonna end this video right here because I don't really want to get into all that other stuff, but it's LFR Jojo. If you have any comments for me, comment them down below, and I'll see you on the next one.